Happy Morbius month to my fellow gays. Yes, happy Morbius month. I hope you all morb with your gay partners. We are live. What is up, everybody? I have decided I'm gonna start doing more streaming, which I'm excited about, because a lot of times I'll find something and I'll be like, oh, this is cringe, but it's not really worth making a full 30-minute long video about. So I was thinking, and I mean, people have done this before, it's not like it's some revolutionary idea, but I want to start doing reaction streams and then editing them down and putting them on my second channel. All right, so let's get into the reaction. So Isaac Butterfield is an Australian comedian, and I made a commentary video about him yesterday. He posted a response. Angry American attacks me, which I just found very funny, the thumbnail that he chose to use, because it just is a picture of me looking super happy, and then a picture of him looking like he's trying to kiss me. So I'm not exactly sure what the message behind that is. I wasn't angry when I made that video, and I also wasn't trying to attack him. I was trying to criticize him, which is two very different things. But anyway, let's just get right into, hopefully this will work. Look at this. I kind of know how to work technology.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's happened again. I've been attacked from far left-leaning YouTube. They've come after me, the mad woke people, the mad lefties, all that type of shit.
Okay, so right off the bat, I wasn't attacking you, I was criticizing you. Like, every single video that Isaac puts on his channel is him, criticizing people. But then when I criticize him, I'm an angry woke person attacking him. I just don't understand it. Are you saying that, you're attacking the people that you criticize? Because I feel like what I did to you is exactly what you do to other people.
They've come after me because they don't like me. They really don't like me. And when you go into these videos and you read the comments, you think to yourself, holy fucking shit, I might jump off a...
I thought this comment here was really funny. I like women's hair. In our current society, I'm the freak. This body hair thing was for most of the time an American thing. Up until the mid-70s, a lot of Germans, women didn't shave their legs. Right off the bat, is that a crazy woke comment? All that this person is saying is in Germany, they tend to like women's body hair. Oh God, that's crazy. The crazy wokes are after him because some random German guy likes women's body hair.
And this is a video about a guy called Mr. Beard. He doesn't even have a beard.
Yes, I do not have a beard. I'm so sorry, Isaac. I am incapable of growing a beard. I just happen to be born with the last name Beard. So if you want someone to criticize my British ancestors that forced me to have the last name Beard.
You may remember a few weeks ago, I brought you a video about a young man by the name of Noah. Now, Noah, or Todd Flanders, as he is now known by the...
So this is his epic roast that he does. He compares Noah to Todd Flanders from The Simpsons, guys. That he really got Noah there, didn't he?
Today, I have someone even better. May I introduce you to Ralph Wiggum?
Ralph Wiggum, guys. He compared me to a Simpsons character. He compared Noah to a Simpsons character, and then he also compared me to a Simpsons character. That's an epic roast. He really burned me there. I don't know who the character of Ralph Wiggum is. Isn't he just kind of a dumb kid or something? All I know is that Ralph Wiggum, from what I've seen, seems pretty cute. So I'll gladly take the title of Ralph Wiggum. And who better than the edgy comedian?
Edgy? Really? I get called that from people quite a bit from the left. It's usually from people who have never been to my show, never watched any of my stand-up. You know, they're in the far left circle jerks of society, and they think that that is a way to sort of break my spirit and call me an edgy comedian.
You don't I would have thought that he considers himself an edgy comedian. So I actually don't think that just calling someone an edgy comedian is an insult in itself. Edgy comedy is something that if you're going to do it, you have to do it well. Like, one of my favorite comedians in the entire world is Eric Andre, and he definitely does edgy comedy, but I think he's actually, like, really funny and does it really well. I'm not against the concept of edgy comedy. I'm against dumb edgy comedy where the only jokes that you're making are things that we've heard a million times before, the same stereotypical racist jokes that have been told, like, a billion times. And the other type of edgy comedy that I don't like is the type of edgy comedy where the goal isn't to make people laugh, it's just to make people angry. Like, I don't find that type of comedy funny, no matter who it's coming from. And that's like half of what this dude does, is half of his comedy is just, I pissed off woke people, haha, isn't it so funny? Let's all laugh at how angry they are. Like, if the intention of your comedy is just to piss off 50% of people, like, why isn't the intention of your comedy to make people laugh? And I know he would say that the intention of his comedy is to make people laugh, but then he'll also admit that a lot of the things he does is just to, like, make woke people angry.
They use it as an insult because someone who is considered edgy is somewhat cringy in a way.
No, just you. I like edgy comedy. I like a lot of edgy comedy. I don't like your edgy comedy because it's bad.
They're like someone who is being offensive just for the sake of being offensive. Now, I may have been guilty of doing that in the past, and maybe you think I do that now.
Yes, I do think you do that now, because you have said multiple times that the reason you go on TikTok and say things is just to piss off women. That's called being offensive for the sake of being offensive. So why are you denying that that's what you do? Just own up to it.
I don't really think I do. I think the jokes that I do that are seen as rather offensive are modeled in a way, and I'm not going to pretend I'm a fucking George Carlin or some crazy amazing comedian. I'm not Bill Burr or any of those guys, all right? I'm just a dude who's 10 years into the game, gets on stage and tells jokes. That's all I am. I'm not trying to make a political point or anything like that, right?
You're not trying to make a political... I'm just so confused by him. Like, why are you saying that you're not trying to make a political point? Like, he I think just a week ago, he posted a video about who he thinks people should vote for in the Australian election. Like, he clearly does make a bunch of political points. I understand that there's a difference between him doing stand-up and what he does on his YouTube channel, but I wasn't criticizing his stand-up in my video. I was criticizing his YouTube videos. My personal opinion is that Isaac is a transphobic, fatphobic misogynist, but I don't want this to be my main focus because he clearly gets turned on when people call him these things.
Turned on, you reckon? Yeah, nothing gets me stiffer than seeing people call me a racist misogynist. Nothing gets me harder than getting called an Islamophobic piece of shit. All of those terms mean nothing.
All of those terms mean nothing. Racism, that word means nothing. That's actually a meaningless word. There's no such thing as someone who hates someone else for their race. And the reason I said that you get turned on when people call you these things is because you like when people cancel you, because when people cancel you, it like helps you sell more tickets. You've said this. This is why I said that comedians like you get turned on when you call them racist, bigoted, whatever, because that's like your whole marketing tactic, is that you want people to think, oh, he's so edgy and so controversial because he's not afraid to say what everyone else is afraid to say. He's not afraid to make a joke about Muslim people dying. Ooh. So that's why my video focused on how I think you're a hypocrite and you contradict yourself all the time, not on how I think you're a bigot, because me calling you a bigot turns you on.
Nothing I've ever said on this channel wasn't based in fact. Particularly when I'm calling a spade and relying on technical knowledge or scientific knowledge.
The things that I was criticizing you for are not based in scientific technical knowledge. I called you an asshole because you said women's body hair is disgusting. I called you a hypocrite because you hate when women make generalizations and then you turn around and make a bunch of generalizations. None of that has anything to do with scientific data.
And then you call me a racist or a misogynist or a sexist based on that?
I called you a misogynist because you think that slut shaming is okay and you call women's body hair disgusting. That's not based in scientific facts or data. There's no scientific data that says we should slut shame people. That's just your perspective as a misogynist. Nothing makes edgy comedians jizz in their pants faster than being called a bigot, because it fuels their victim narrative that the woke mob is trying to cancel me, so go subscribe to my shitty podcast, Cancel Me Now. Basically, the only comedian who has ever actually been fully canceled is Bill Cosby.
Now, Mr. Beard here, or Ralph Wiggum as we call him, goes on to explain that I've never actually been cancelled. I just use it as a marketing tactic. To that I say, yeah, duh.
Okay, well, I think it's cringy. I think using cancel, like, oh, they're gonna cancel me, I think that's cringy. And it's very overdone at this point, because every, like, alpha male podcast person at this point is like, oh, I'm saying the thing that's gonna get me canceled, guys. And then they don't get canceled. They just get all the circle jerk edgy dudes to come in and be like, oh yeah, you are gonna get canceled. Oh yeah, cancel me, try to cancel me.
But what the boy with the radio announcer's fake voice won't tell you is it does have real life repercussions. Sure, the death threats aren't wonderful. I have been told so many times that I'm going to be killed.
But do you not understand that, like, I understand that you get death threats from the things you say. Everyone on the internet gets death threats. I think death threats are horrible. No one should ever send anyone death threats. I get death threats. He gets death threats. Everyone does. But I just don't understand why he can sit here and be like, oh, there are negative repercussions to being canceled. But then he refuses to acknowledge any of the negative repercussions that can be spread through messages like saying that women's body hair is disgusting, or like fucking just attacking fat people trying to live their lives. Do you not think that these sorts of messages can help contribute to the culture of like people legitimately hating fat people, or people telling women that like they're disgusting?
And what's worse than all that, because I'm used to that type of shit, what's worse than that is when sponsors pull out. It really does have a financial effect on this channel. So when people come for the sponsors of my show or my channel, whatever you want to call it, and then the sponsors have to make this big announcement like, well, we cannot stand by Mr. Butterfield. Do you know what happens? I lose out on cash for like 2-3 months, and then the sponsors come back. So yeah, it has real life repercussions.
Okay, so he said, and then the sponsors come back. So what you're saying is that it has repercussions, but then the sponsors end up coming back. And you have said multiple times that you like being canceled because every time you get canceled, it causes your business to do better. So I don't understand how you can be like crying about, oh, I lost sponsors, and then also turn around and say that being canceled helps your business.
But they always come back. But in a world where, you know, Chris Rock gets attacked by Will Smith, Dave Chappelle gets tackled on stage, comedians who have their reputation smeared because they are whatever pejorative term you want to use, whatever label you want to put on them, turn them into a horrible person, you increase the likelihood of that person being attacked.
So I'm increasing the likelihood of comedians being attacked by criticizing him on my YouTube channel. So by your own logic, will you admit that you increase the likelihood of trans people, fat people, and women being attacked by criticizing them on your channel? Or does this only account for comedians who have literally been attacked twice? There have been 2 instances of comedians. I mean, maybe there's more than that, but basically only 2 instances of comedians being attacked. If I was someone who like thinks it's okay to attack comedians, then maybe that's a fine rebuttal, but I have literally tweeted about how I don't think that you should attack comedians. I don't think that sending death threats or going up on stage and like punching comedians, I don't think either of those are valid responses. And I think that me and Isaac both agree on that. But if you have the perspective that me simply criticizing your comedy will lead to more comedians being attacked, then you should also acknowledge that you like just shitting on fat people for no reason can lead to them being attacked.
Cheers, Ralphie boy. Thanks for fucking putting me on a pedestal to be, I don't know, attacked at a comedy show.
I have specifically said that if you go and attack someone at a comedy show, you're a fucking idiot. Like, we both agree on that. The only way that Isaac is being canceled is by his audience slowly losing interest in his content, causing him to get 1/10 of the views that he used to.
Sure, fair point. Fair point. Ralphie's not missing the mark there.
At least he owned up to it. Now, that was kind of me just taking a shot at him. Because I do realize that over the lifespan of channels, people have their like incline and then they have their decline a lot of times. You know, there are very few channels that have just kept growing and growing and growing and growing over time. The only reason I took that shot at him is because, yeah, the people that are canceling you are your fans that don't like your content anymore. They're the only people that are actually canceling you. But I had a bunch of people in my comment section being like, I used to like Isaac until he started just like shitting on people for no reason. So I think you should be able to acknowledge that your rhetoric of just like attacking people for living their lives can have a negative impact on your audience, just being like, oh shit, this dude's an asshole, I don't want to watch him anymore.
I didn't think this was fair. Comparing Welcome to Fat Talk at 201,000 views to It's Okay to Be White. Now there is definitely a difference there. One was posted 7 days ago when he made the video. The other...
It seems to really have gotten under his skin, me criticizing him for having less views, because he's taking the time to pull up the analytics from his videos.
It was posted 3 years and 8 months ago, or 1,307 days ago. And when you look at the analytics over that same period of time, the 7 days, one got 101,000, the other 241,000. Fuck me, Ralph Wiggum. Give me a bit of time to grow, big dick.
That's fair. I will say that that's fair. My views have been a little bit down since when they were 6 months ago. Maybe my views will end up going up. Maybe Isaac's views will go up. Who knows? That's not really something that I see as a big criticism of him, is that his views are down, because that happens to everyone. Isaac pissed off a bunch of people when he posted this on TikTok.
Okay, I'm going to freak everybody out. I'm going to upset some people, and I enjoy doing that. Female body hair is disgusting.
So I'm sure if you've been involved in the channel for a while now, you'll remember the carry-on that happened with this shit. I sure do. It fucking blew up. People all over the world were talking about it, to the point where I was asked to go on Dr. Phil and talk about it. Now, in that actual video that I first posted to TikTok, I went on to say, listen, this isn't about chicks with a little bit of hair. This is about women who have massive, hairy, bushy underarms or extremely bushy legs, and they think they're changing the world. I think that's a bit gross.
And I think that if you have that feeling, just keep it to yourself. There's no reason to go out and tell people that you think that they're disgusting for how... I don't care how much hair a person has on their body. I might have certain preferences about it, but I just want to live in a world where people can have as much hair as they want to, and who gives a fuck? Like, I would never criticize you for that beautiful bushy mane that you've got going on there. I think it looks quite stunning, and I think you should be able to have a nice bushy mane, and I think if women want to grow a bunch of hair under their underarms, who fucking cares? The thing that I'm criticizing you for is that you feeling the need to go out and say that they're disgusting just so you can piss women off on TikTok. That just makes you a massive asshole. And the thing is that you have gone and criticized other people and called them assholes and said they're not being respectful. In the video I criticized because you called a trans person an asshole because they were like, you need to use my pronouns, and he's like, oh, don't be an asshole about it, I'll use your pronouns, but don't be an asshole. And then he turns around and he's a massive asshole.
Stop being the personification of an asshole. No one wants to hear what you have to say or what you want people to call you if you're being mean, which is my complete right to say.
I just love how these dudes, they only think on the very surface level. I have a right to say what I want to say. I am not saying that you don't have a right to say what you want to say. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say. I believe in freedom of speech. I'm just criticizing you like you criticize other people.
In the same vein that if a woman wants to say that she finds beards disgusting, even though she's wrong, she can say it.
Yeah, she can say it. I'm not saying we should deplatform women for saying beards are disgusting. I'm not saying we should like deplatform you for saying women's body hair is disgusting. I just think you're a hypocritical asshole.
Women aren't hairless. I very much understand that. All I'm saying is if you've got a big hairy underarm, you're gross. You are gross. Gross, gross, gross.
And why is it that you feel this way? Why is it that women with big hairy underarms are gross and men with hairy underarms aren't gross? Maybe it's the historical context of that razor companies have convinced women that their underarms are gross. Maybe there is an element of that razor companies have gotten into your head subliminally and you don't even realize it, and you think that these are just your preferences, but it's actually based on 100 years of conditioning, because things aren't as simple as just, this is my preference, this is my opinion. That's what's so annoying about dudes like this, is that they aren't willing to do any sort of like analysis on a deeper level. All that they'll stop is, I can have my opinion, I can speak my mind, and I think it's gross. Okay, but can we think on a deeper level for a second? Can we go maybe 2 steps deeper than that and see like where these thoughts come from, and see that maybe saying that you think it's disgusting is contributing to a culture of misogyny? Let's talk about the history of women shaving their underarms.
How about let's fucking not? Fast forward this bit.
I like how he fast forwarded the entire context of why his like perspective that women's body hair is disgusting isn't based in any sort of logic. He claims to be like a big scientific logic dude, and so I gave all this context for like the societal reasons why women's body hair is seen as disgusting, and he's like, let's fucking not, let's skip right past that shit. That women need to shave their underarms isn't based in any sort of logic. It's just a stereotype that has been pushed by razor companies for the last 100 years.
A lot of things have changed in the last 100 years, mate. For example, have you noticed people have been bathing more than once a week?
This is such a horrible rebuttal. Okay, so you're saying that things have changed in the last 100 years. People bathe more than once a week. So what you're saying is that, like, you think that women shaving their underarms is for hygienic reasons. But do you not realize that what you are implicitly saying by this is that men are less hygienic because they grow underarm hair? Any statement that you make like that is insulting men, because what you're saying is that men are less hygienic because they grow underarm hair, which isn't accurate. Hair has nothing to do with how hygienic a person is. How hygienic a person is just how much they wash themselves. So that's a terrible response. The idea that women are more hygienic for shaving their underarms isn't based in logic. It's based on what the razor companies want you to think. Otherwise, everyone should shave their underarms. I mean, maybe underarm hair, I'm not exactly sure. I think underarm hair maybe traps sweat, so that could possibly make you get dirtier sooner. But like if you have long hair, like your beard, I assume, gets dirty pretty quickly, which probably means that you need to wash your beard a lot. So yeah, if you have more hair, you might need to wash it more often.
But here's what I've really learned about all of this, particularly men like Ralph Wickham here, who pretend to like hairy underarmed women.
So I never did pretend to like hairy underarmed women. I have preferences, and crazy, I know this is crazy, my preference is not hairy underarms, but it's my personal preference, and I don't go around shouting it at people, and I realize that probably a big reason why I have this preference is because of the societal conditioning that I have been placed under. So if the reason that I have this preference is because of societal conditioning, I'm not going to go around and tell women that their underarms are disgusting. I'm just going to have my own personal preference that I keep to myself.
He'll do absolutely anything to appear as an ally. I assume he smells these pits.
Yes, I spend all of my free time going around and smelling the underarms of women. That's my favorite pastime, 100%. The whole concept of like being an ally, I don't know. I have like mixed feelings about it. I feel like people should just try to, I don't know. My goal in life isn't like to be seen as an ally. It's just to be seen as someone who pushes for more empathy, more inclusiveness, and just tries to make a better society for every person living in it. My goal isn't like, oh, I want to be seen as the most woke ally possible. I just want to like create a world where everyone feels comfortable in their own body, comfortable in their own skin. I want you to be able to feel comfortable with your beard. I want women to feel comfortable with their underarm hair, because who cares? Why can't we all just be nice to each other?
Anything to get pussy, hey little Ralph.
My girlfriend gives me plenty of pussy. I don't need to appeal to feminists to get pussy. I'm in a committed relationship for 5 years. I'm not saying what I'm saying to get women to date me. I already have a girlfriend. I'm saying crazy idea, but I say what I say because it's my genuine opinion. I know that's like, that's insane that a woke person could possibly actually have genuine opinions. Yeah, most people find women's body hair disgusting.
Wow. That's sexist, you pig.
I know he's joking, but it is not sexist to analyze societal trends. It's not sexist to say that most people in society find women's body hair disgusting because we've been conditioned to feel that way. When you call someone else's body disgusting because it doesn't fit your personal preference, that's called being an asshole.
Yeah, probably, but get over it, dickhead. Everyone's an asshole. No.
This is the problem. This is why I think you're a massive hypocrite, because you'll criticize other people for being assholes. You cut out the entire point in my video that I said that you call trans people assholes when they're like, use my preferred pronouns.
Stop being the personification of an asshole.
You can't have it both ways. You can't be proud of the fact that you're an asshole and then go and criticize other people for being assholes. It has to be one or the other. Either everyone should be assholes or no one should be assholes. Isaac is well aware that he's being an asshole. On his YouTube channel, he claims that this was all a social experiment.
I wanted to conduct a little social experiment the other day. I wanted to see if I could piss off an entire group of people, so I went to TikTok.
No, seriously, I was in my office thinking to myself, okay, how can I piss off the woke people on TikTok? Because it's mainly woke people. And what could I also do to make more content for myself? Aha! I'm gonna call underarms gross on chicks.
Yeah, and I think that's cringe. I know that that's what you were doing. I think if you're a comedian, you should be focused on how can I make the most people laugh possible, not how can I piss people off so that I can get more views.
Point being, I made that video to annoy people to make content about.
Yeah, I am fully aware of that, and I think that kind of content is stupid. That's my personal preference. I think content where the whole purpose is just to piss people off is bad content. Jokes like this, where the intention is just to piss women off.
Where is the joke? It's my personal opinion that I'm not attracted to chicks with hairy underarms, so I find it a little bit gross.
But that's the thing is, people like him will a lot of times state something that is like seems like an opinion, and then they'll backtrack and be like, "Oh, I was just joking," or they'll make a joke and then they'll be like, "Oh, it was just my opinion." It's very hard to tell. They purposefully walk this like nebulous line between, is it an opinion? Is it a joke? Am I just joking? Like if Dave Chappelle goes on stage and just states his genuine opinions about how he doesn't think that trans people are real, then he can just backtrack and be like, "Oh, it's just a joke." And then you can do the opposite and be like, "Oh, it wasn't a joke. I was stating my opinion." Like this happens constantly.
I have opinions in videos, and some are political, some are just social, whatever. And then there's others that are jokes, but you can tell the difference if you're not a fucking idiot. Like if I say something and I'm in a serious tone of voice, that's probably a serious thing. If I say something and then I go at the end of it, it's probably a joke.
But in the original TikTok that you made, you were like, "Female body hair is disgusting." Like you did have a goofy expression on your face when you made the original video, so how the fuck am I supposed to know if it's a joke or if it's serious, if it's actually your opinion, or if it's just you're trying to piss people off? Like, were you just trying to make people angry, or were you stating your genuine opinion? Isaac will regularly make very inflammatory statements.
Female body hair is disgusting.
But then once he gets backlash, he'll walk the statement back to make himself seem more reasonable.
Okay, sure, maybe I've done that in the past, who hasn't? But in this case, you're dead wrong. If you just showed the rest of that clip that you just played, you would see that I actually say in that video, I'm not talking about just a little bit of hair, I'm talking about big bush. But you didn't do that. You just sat there and lied to your audience to make someone else look bad.
I'm confused by this because maybe he's saying that in the original TikTok that he walked back the point and it wasn't after getting backlash, but he didn't play the full TikTok in the YouTube video that I was responding to. So I don't know, maybe I did make a mistake there in the editing or something. Regardless of whether it was either he like makes the inflammatory statement and then immediately walks it back, or he makes the inflammatory statement and then walks it back after getting backlash, I feel like that's kind of similar. But I do apologize if I accidentally edited that in a way where in this one instance you weren't responding to backlash when you did it. But you just admitted that you do that, where you make an inflammatory statement and walk it back after getting backlash. So if you admitted that you do that, then my criticism isn't inaccurate. But I am sorry if I accidentally, in this specific instance, you walked it back immediately instead of walking it back after criticism. Let's look at his recent video, 10 Reasons Woke Women Hate Men. This video is filled with exaggerated stereotypes and outright lies about feminists.
Outright lies. This would be good. Please tell me what I was lying about.
Number 10, toxic masculinity. If there has been a buzzword over the past 5 years or so, toxic masculinity has to be up there with some of the greats. By definition, it is a set of attitudes and ways of behaving stereotypically associated with or expected of men, regarded as having a negative impact on men and society as a whole. So it's basically whatever men do. That is toxic masculinity. Anything that's bad that a man does is toxic masculinity. Anything bad that a female does is not toxic femininity. It is brave, powerful, wonderful, and fantastic. Yay.
When have feminists ever claimed that women can't be toxic?
I'm not sure when they've claimed that, but rather than accepting women can be toxic, they like to push the blame onto other people. In this case, men, masculinity, toxic masculinity, the patriarchy, etc.
Okay, so he's like, I don't know when they've made that claim. Well, if you don't know when they've made that claim, then why did you make the claim in your video? If you don't know when they've made that claim, then don't put it in your video. Women don't think that you can't do something wrong if you're a woman. Is there anyone in the chat who genuinely believes that being a woman just absolves you from any toxicity? Like, if a woman acts toxic, you shouldn't just blame men for a woman being toxic. That's like obvious. Men are harmed by toxic masculinity. Yeah, so toxic masculinity harms everyone because toxic masculinity is a social trend of these ideas that men need to be the providers, women need to be subservient, men need to make money, women need to be given money, men shouldn't cry, women are the only ones who can show emotions. It hurts both men and women in different ways. Because it hurts men because men aren't allowed to show emotions. It hurts women because women are always called emotional when they're just trying to express their opinions. So it goes both ways and harms both sides. And the reason why we focus on toxic masculinity is because throughout history, men have been the ones who have held the majority of power, and they're the ones who created these systems of like the household where the man is the one who makes all the rules and a woman needs to be in service to her husband and all that shit. No feminist on the entire planet believes that female empowerment means that women can just be as toxic as they want to be and go around committing whatever crimes they want to. Being a girl boss is when you go and just start punching random people in public. That's a real girl boss moment. You're like, the patriarchy has been hitting women for too long, so girl boss. Without being held responsible. That is obviously fucking stupid.
I tend to agree. I don't think I ever said that women get away with crimes, although they do get more lenient sentences. But I guess that's a topic for another video.
Women getting more lenient sentences is also like a symptom of toxic masculinity because we have this idea that like men are the ones who commit the crimes. So that is also a symptom of this entire toxic system. I want everyone to be held responsible equally for crimes. So, I mean, me and him agree on that, I guess.
On social media, everything that dudes do is deemed toxic masculinity. When Will Smith the other week slapped Chris Rock because Will Smith is a big old pussy, that was not to... You can't blame Will Smith for that. You blame toxic masculinity.
Huh? No one is blaming toxic masculinity. They're blaming Will Smith for exhibiting toxic masculinity.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree it's the same. I was criticizing you because you said we don't blame Will Smith, we blame toxic masculinity.
What Ralph is doing is he's playing word games. He tries to confuse people and...
No, I'm not playing word games. I was confused by what you said. You said we don't blame Will Smith, we blame toxic masculinity. No, we are not blaming toxic masculinity. We are blaming Will Smith and saying that the actions that he's exhibiting are probably being influenced by the social pressures of toxic masculinity. When we criticize toxic masculinity, we're criticizing social structures that create these ideas of that people should act a certain way. The idea that in order to like defend your partner, you need to like use violence, that is an example of toxic masculinity. So I'm just confused now because it feels like he's saying that he wasn't making the point that I thought he was making. If someone commits murder, we don't blame murder, we blame the person for committing murder. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, good one. So I assume you're pro-guns then?
Okay, so he's saying that we should blame people for killing people. We don't blame guns for killing people. And that is a straw man that conservatives put forward that's like blame the people, don't blame the guns. No one is saying that the gun is what's killing people. We're saying that the people use the gun to kill people and that we should make it less easy for these people who want to kill people to get guns because these people want to kill people. I do believe in the right to bear arms, but I just think that we need to have common sense gun control laws that make it so that it's not like I've talked about this. I personally believe that at the very least it should be just as difficult to get a gun as it is to get a car. Like, it makes no sense that someone can get a gun without needing like a license or needing to take a test. I feel like at the very least we as a society should agree that it should be equally difficult to get a gun and to get a car. It's in order to analyze these things, you have to analyze the individual's actions and you have to analyze society and the way that it can influence that individual's actions. So, for example, you hold Will Smith accountable. You say it was Will Smith who smacked him, but then you can also analyze the social context that he's living under that might have influenced him to do that. But that doesn't mean that it justifies his actions. That doesn't mean we're blaming toxic masculinity. It means that we just analyze the social conditions that cause people to act in certain ways.
Maybe we shouldn't blame all men for this. Maybe we should blame the rotten eggs that are the ones that are living their lives like this.
See, it's like we only blame the rotten eggs. It's like, yes, we blame the rotten eggs, but then we can also analyze the societal conditions that lead to those rotten eggs being the way that they are. And then we can fix those societal conditions so there can be less rotten eggs, so there can be less men hurting women. No one is blaming all men.
Bullshit. Bull fucking shit, you disingenuous little How can you just lie? You smug little fucking head. How can you just lie about shit like that? And then because you're pretending to be this all-powerful pseudo-intellectual, you expect everyone to believe you.
He got very angry at that one. So when I say that no one is blaming all men, I know that there are people who say things like kill all men, you know, like all men are toxic, all men are this, all men are that. That is a rhetorical tactic that people use where they're exaggerating. There are very few people who actually believe that every single man is to blame. But the problem is that these toxic ideas are so ingrained in like every person in society. I still have toxic things that I need to deal with. I think it is a toxic idea that sometimes I feel like a feeling of disgust seeing a woman's body hair. I'll own up to that. There are times that I've seen women's body hair and felt like grossed out by it. But that is because of the social pressures that have led me to feeling this way. So I will admit that there are a few women out there, specifically very radical feminists, that believe that like every single man is to blame for everything. But most people realize that not every single man is toxic, but every single person in society is influenced by these ideas, because you can't just like completely divorce yourself from society. I mean, maybe some people can, but it's really hard to just completely disconnect yourself from all these ideas that get like pounded into us from a young age.
It is so well known that everyone blames men that when you say not all men, you are criticized.
Okay, so the reason that people get criticized for saying not all men is the same reason people get criticized for saying all lives matter. The statement, all lives matter, is a true statement. The statement that not all men are toxic is a true statement. These are both accurate statements, but the problem is the context that you say them in. When you say all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, the problem with saying it in that context is that you are deflecting from the issues that that person is bringing up. If someone is saying Black Lives Matter, they're saying it to bring attention to the problems Black people are facing. So if you say all lives matter in that context, you are using it to discredit that Black person. When women are criticizing the toxic actions of men and you say not all men, this is technically a true statement, but the problem is, why are you needing to go on the defensive? Why can't you just like listen to what they're saying and be like, that's a fair point? Why do you need to be like, oh, not all men? Obviously not all men. It's obvious that not all men do everything bad. But when women are criticizing toxic masculinity, if you feel the need to come into a comment section and be like, not all men, why not just like have a moment of humility and listen to them and listen to the things that they're saying are harmful? If a man assaults a woman, all men aren't responsible for that assault.
Wow, thank you for finally agreeing with me. I'm glad you're on Team Buttsmart. It's great to have you on the team, big fella.
99.999% of people agree that if one man commits assault, that isn't the same as all men committing assault. But the problem is that you create these videos crafting this narrative against woke women, saying that that's like what woke women believe. It's crafting a disingenuous narrative. So the point of my video is to say 99.99999% of people don't think that if one man assaults someone, that means every man assaults people. But that's the claim that you're making. It's an inaccurate claim because you're trying to fearmonger about woke women.
Number 9, slut shaming. What does slut shaming mean? It is the action or fact of stigmatizing a woman for engaging in behavior judged to be promiscuous or sexually provocative. I think the reason that society looks down on women who have slept with a lot of people or are easy in this situation is because it's so simple for them to get sex. For a man to get a lot of sex, he's got to be funny, intelligent, he's got to be all these things, he's got to be muscular, he's got to be good looking. For a lady to get sex, all she has to do is just slightly open her fucking legs.
I have never understood this argument. What you're saying is that it's easy for women to get sex because men usually want sex, and it's not easy for men to get sex because women usually don't want sex. So if men are the ones who usually want sex, then what you're saying is, by default, men are sluts.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. That is exactly what we're saying. We are big dirty sluts. See, we want sex all the time, but we can't get it all the time. Like if you achieve something really hard in life, people look at you and go, wow, that's so great, well done. But if you achieve something that's really easily achievable all the time, say putting your shoes on every day. The first time you do it, wow, well done, how good are you? The 100th time, no one gives a fuck anymore. No one cares anymore because you do it all the time and it's easy.
Okay, so what he's saying is, if someone makes an accomplishment, that's like more impressive than doing something that's easy. But you haven't, in this claim that you're making, you haven't established why it makes sense to shame someone for doing something that is easier. Like, with this metaphor that you've created, do you think that we should shame people for tying their shoes because it's like an easy thing to do? Like, we shouldn't praise people for tying their shoes, but we also shouldn't shame them for tying their shoes. And that's the point of why I'm saying slut shaming is stupid. Like, yeah, maybe it's easier for women to get sex in certain contexts. Who cares? Like you said, who cares? That's the point that I'm making. Slut shaming is bad because women should just be able to like have as much sex as they want, because who gives a fuck?
As a society, we seem to look down on people who take the path of least resistance. And to get fucked by 1,000 guys is the path of least resistance.
So he says, in society, we tend to look down on people who take the path of least resistance. Okay, why? Why should we look down on people who take the path of least resistance? That doesn't make any sense at all. Isn't that like against capitalism? Like in capitalism, a lot of times the path of least resistance is what leads to the highest profits. Sometimes you take the path of more resistance, sometimes you take the path of least resistance. I don't understand why we should shame people just for doing something that's easy to do. That doesn't make any sense at all.
What I'm saying here is, okay, and stick with me, it's easier for women to have sex, therefore it's abundant. For men, they want it all the time, but they can't get it. It's not so abundant. I'll change it, okay? How many men could one woman sleep with in a week before you think it's gross? Is it 1? Not really. 2? Nah. 3? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Are you saying it's gross yet? Would you think that person's a bit gross? What about 1,000 men in 1 week?
No, I maybe this is crazy. I legitimately don't care how much sex people have. Have as much sex as you want to, as long as you're being safe with it. I think if you have sex with 1,000 people, you might need to worry about STDs, so you need to just make sure that they've been tested before you do that. Safe sex, everyone. But no, someone can have literally as much sex as they want to, and I could not give less of a fuck. Wouldn't you agree that an idea of freedom is people can just have the freedom to do whatever they want to with their bodies and not get bothered by other people on how much they want to have sex? I just don't understand this at all. I feel like you're such a freedom guy, but then you turn around and be like, it makes sense to shame women for how much they want sex.
How many women could a man sleep with in a week and you would look at that and go, nice, how are you doing that? Is it 1, 10, 100, 1,000? If a man's rooting 1,000 women a week, you wouldn't be thinking gross. Like, you might think a little bit gross. It is a little bit gross. You'd probably look at him and go, How the fuck are you doing that?
No, you're just literally admitting that you're misogynistic. If you have a different view of men who have sex and women who have sex, and your response to one is that's gross, and your response to the other is, wow, good job, that's just being misogynistic. I wouldn't be proud of a guy for sleeping with 1,000 women. I would have the same response. I'd be like, make sure that you know that they don't have STDs. Go out and have your fun, dude, but just be a little careful there. That's the response I would have to both a man or a woman if they're like, today I'm going to start my week of fucking 1,000 people. I would be like, okay, have fun. Just make sure to be safe. Make sure to wrap it up and get tested. I really don't care. No, I honestly, genuinely don't care. Me personally, I would not have sex with 1,000 people in a week. I'm happy in my monogamous relationship. I just don't care. Why do you care?
In this next section, I say that all male feminists are creeps. And he compares that to how I generalize saying it's not all men. Here lies the issue with that logic. I'm right.
This just makes me so... it just makes me so angry that I can sit down and like try so hard to like come up with logical arguments and explain how he's being hypocritical by saying that all male feminists are predators and then like saying that it's bad to say that all men are dangerous. And then all that he can do is sit there and be like, I'm right. Okay, do you have an argument or do you just have an I'm right? You literally, the entire point of my video is how hypocritical you are. That you'll make generalizations about whoever you want to make it about, but then the second women try to make generalizations, you get fucking triggered and pissed off about it. So either it's okay to make generalizations or it's not okay to make generalizations. Either it's okay to be an asshole or it's not okay to be an asshole. You can't just have it both ways. You can't just be this nebulous person. I mean, I guess if that's, you just take pride in the fact that you have no core values and you just are like, it is okay to generalize when I do it. Okay, I guess. This just shows me that you're not actually against people making generalizations. You're just against women doing it.
Okay, fair enough. You got me.
All right. Well, I win, I guess. Are you going to try to improve that behavior moving forward? Have you realized that you need to stop making generalizations about people if you want other people to stop making generalizations? Have you taken a moment of self-reflection where you say, oh yeah, maybe I should try to stop doing that? I'm gonna guess probably not. Male feminist is just any man who believes that men and women should be equal.
But that would mean that most men are male feminists.
Most men should be male feminists. There are a lot of men who like think, oh, men and women should be equal on like a societal level, but then they'll turn around and say shit like it makes sense to shame women for having sex and it doesn't make sense to shame men for having sex. Like that's clearly not wanting men and women to be equal because you're putting different standards onto men versus women. Yeah, I think that like a lot of people would consider themselves like they think that men and women should be equal, but then people come up with all sorts of rationalizations. Like conservatives will be like, oh, I don't think women are less than men. I think they just need to learn their place. You're not less than me because you have to be subservient to me. That's just the place that God has put you in. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Like I said, toxic masculinity harms both men and women. So we should all want to be feminists and want to dismantle that. And it doesn't just make society better for women. I'm not some woke person who just wants to make society better for women. I want to make society better for men. I care about men. I want the world to be a better place for men. Genuinely, I really feel sad of like the shit that men have to deal with through toxic masculinity. I'm not saying this shit because I'm some sort of woke feminist who's trying to pander to women. I'm trying to help men too.
Now, so I'm not talking about old school feminism. I'm talking about the fourth wave, fifth wave, whatever. And the male feminists all seem to have the same opinions. That it's not so much about people being equal, it's about pushing women forward, only blaming men, and saying that everything to do with males is evil.
And the whole point of my video is that that is a stereotype that you're pushing because it fits your narrative. What did he say? He said, first of all, it's about pushing women forward. So the idea of pushing women forward is the idea of equity. that sometimes we have to prioritize women in ways where they have been unprioritized in the past so we can get ourselves to a place of equality. You can't achieve societal equality unless you believe in equity, which sometimes requires pushing people up so that we can all be at the same level. So that's that idea. But I don't believe that women are better than men or that they deserve to have more than men. I just want us to all get to an equal place. And no, I don't think that women can't be toxic. I don't think every problem that women have should be blamed on men. Women can be toxic. There are a lot of fucking horrible women in the world.
Many years ago, just to treat others with respect was the main goal. But now they've moved the goalpost so many times, it no longer means that.
I don't want to get angry. I fucking hate when he says, like, it used to be just about treating people with respect. When did we stop treating people with respect? But then he also takes pride in the fact that he's an asshole who pisses people off and doesn't act respectful. You can't have it both ways. Why are you saying that society should be about treating people with respect, but also I should be able to just piss people off whenever I want to and be an asshole? Those are completely diametrically opposed ideas.
Now, for you to be considered a feminist or a male feminist, you have to scream from the rooftops how bad men are. You have to absolutely portray them as the enemy. And you have to show that you are an ally, that you are helping the cause.
On a percentage basis, when you analyze statistics, statistically 90% of criminals are men. So there is some sort of issue here where statistically men seem to be doing more harm than women. This doesn't mean that men are the only problem in society. There have been fucking horrible women throughout history, like Margaret Thatcher or some shit. But the majority of the men throughout history that have like committed genocides and shit, it's been like mostly men. That doesn't get women off the hook when they are pieces of shit. Like I specifically made a video calling out TERFs. If I was his stereotype of a male feminist, I would be like, you know what? It's okay for TERFs to be transphobic because they're a woman and they need to have their opinions. No, fuck transphobic women. If you're a piece of shit and you're a woman, fuck you. That's what makes me so annoyed, is that he just paints this stereotype of what he thinks I am based on the fact that I call myself a male feminist. I am very left-wing and what you would probably consider woke, but I am nothing like the extreme straw man that you have created of what woke feminists are like. And I am willing to bet that the vast, vast majority of feminists would agree with everything I have said.
And they probably will agree with everything you've said because you are reading from their fucking cliff notes, mate.
Did you completely miss the point that I'm making? The point that I'm making is the vast majority of feminists will agree with my views that are not as extreme as you're making them out to be. So if you're saying you agree that women would agree with me, I just don't know. Do you think that's a good response? My whole point is that woke feminists aren't this extreme stereotype that you've made them out to be. And then you're like, well, of course women would agree with you. Okay, well then did I prove you wrong or not?
It's all the same talking points. It's all the same doctrine. You're not allowed to misstep, otherwise you will be cast away and never seen or heard from again.
I didn't say that. What? He's not responding to any of the things that I actually said in this video. He's just responding to stereotypes of what he thinks I believe. I am someone who believes in rehabilitative justice. I think that just because someone makes a mistake doesn't mean that they should be cast away from society for their entire life. This is a leftist idea that people who make mistakes should be able to learn to improve and shouldn't get the death penalty or get like locked away forever. So no, I am the exact opposite of that, Isaac.
You do not have the ability to think critically. You don't.
I don't have the ability to think critically. You haven't been actually like responding to the things I've been saying. You've just been painting a straw man of me this entire time. You've just been coming up with arguments that you assume that I believe, which I don't believe, which is the whole point of why I criticized you in my video. Because that's what you do. You paint straw men of people and don't actually engage with what they're actually saying. So this is called you not thinking critically.
Thinking critically is shameful in your world. It's probably toxic masculinity as well.
Yes, guys, thinking critically is toxic masculinity. I am the one who is saying that we need to view things on an individual level and a societal level at the same time. That is called thinking critically. What is not thinking critically is you just being like, my opinion is right because I said so, I am just right, and things are just the way they are because society is that way, and I just think women's body hair is disgusting because I do. There's no reason behind why I think that. That's called not thinking critically. You're the one who's not willing to do any deeper, like, introspection.
These people are so terrified of challenging their own belief system. They are terrified of it. And they will base their life and their career on going on the defensive with anyone who dares to question it.
Aren't you doing the exact same thing? You're going on the defensive of what I said. But if you want to prove that you're like some person who is willing to be a critical thinker, then maybe analyze the ways that these ideas that you have aren't really based in any sort of logic. You're just like, well, this is how it is, and that's just how it should be. Let's look at a few more examples of Isaac blatantly contradicting himself. Isaac has a long-running beef with the leftist streamer Vosh that started because Vosh made a joke that Isaac is a child groomer. Isaac was not very happy about this.
Oh, I can't imagine why. I cannot imagine why. I think if someone calls someone that and they're not upset about it, that's someone you want to keep a fucking eye on.
So, he puts these clips in, and he does not respond to the actual point that I was making by putting those clips in. I said, I agree, it was not okay for Vosh to make that joke. But this is very dishonest framing that he's doing right now, because he didn't play the follow-up of where I explained that I am against Vosh making the joke. The entire point that I was making is it's not okay for Vosh to make jokes about you being a predator in the same way that it's not okay for you to generalize that all male feminists are predators. That is the point that I made. And you completely cut out all of the context that I gave there and the whole follow-up to why I was saying that, because my entire point was pointing out your hypocrisy. My point was not to say it was okay for Vosh to make that joke about you. So this is very dishonest framing that you have done here. Like, you know that that's dishonest, right? If you're going to play these clips, you need to give the full context of the point that I was making. Like, you don't have to play the entire video necessarily, but if you're going to make a point, you can't frame it in this dishonest way. Because the way your video is edited right now, it makes it seem like I was like defending Vosh for calling you a child groomer, which in the video I was specifically saying it was not okay for him to do that. So this really pisses me off here, because my entire point was, don't get mad at people calling you predators if you go around calling other people predators. Either it, again, we just keep coming back to this. Either it's okay to call people predators with no evidence, or it's not. These can't both be true at the same time. You can't get pissed off that Vosh calls you a predator and then turn around and call other people predators. That's the point that I'm making.
Okay, so let's wrap things up. I'm fucking done with this fucking piece of shit.
If Isaac makes a response to this video, I'm sure he'll make some joke like, "Fuck you, you woke soy boy. I can tell that you've been drinking too much soy milk because you're growing your own milkers. You better be careful. If those milkers grow too big, you might turn into a woman." Which I would fully support because I am not transphobic.
I think he is a closet fan of the channel. I would not be shocked if he has my merch. I won't be shocked.
Well, it looks like he thought I did a good impression of him, so I appreciate that. I'm not a fan of the channel. I just watched a few of your videos and figured out your style of humor because it's very easy to do an impression of your style of humor because it's basically just making little snide like, oh, I'm not being bigoted, I'm not being transphobic, ooh. That's basically your entire sense of humor. It's just like saying something and then just being like, oh, but I'm not trying to be bigoted, guys, but like, you know, trans women are kind of gross. I'm just saying. That's like 90% of your humor. Hopefully, someday Isaac will stop attacking random trans teenagers on TikTok, stop antagonizing fat people, and stop trying to piss off feminists for views.
Over my dead body, Ralph Wiggum.
All right, well, if you're not going to stop doing that, then at least stop being a hypocrite and calling like trans people assholes for asking you to use their correct pronouns. If you're going to keep being an asshole, then start letting other people be assholes, you dick.
Ruffling feathers is fun, okay? And I like to throw those videos here or there whenever it sort of comes to be. Ruffling feathers of the weakest people in society is good fun, Ralph.
I don't understand this whole like weakest people in society, strongest people in society. I generally see the people who have to deal with so much shit from people just hating them just because of who they are, and they have to deal with that day in and day out and still be like a nice human being and still function and still try to be empathetic. You know, a trans person who gets like every single day people coming and saying that their complete existence is invalid, and then they have to turn around and be just a nice person. Like, that is, how is that a weak person in any way? Is someone weak just because they get upset at the things that you say? Because you get upset when people say things you disagree with as well. I don't know. I don't think that marginalized people are the weakest people in society. I think they're some of the strongest because they have to put up with shit day in and day out, and they have to like fucking still function as human beings even though people treat them like shit constantly.
Did you think this would hurt me? Shatter my confidence? Shut the fuck up, you minuscule little insignificant fuck.
I didn't think it would hurt you. My hope is when I make videos like that, maybe I'll take some of your audience, your audience that's actually willing to think critically, and maybe some of them will be like, wow, Isaac actually is kind of a piece of shit. Maybe I won't listen to him anymore. I know I'm not going to get through to you. I know you're so entrenched in your worldview because that's what makes you money. But my hope is that we can move the culture towards more empathy and towards like being accepting of people and not being an asshole for no reason. So no, I know it's not going to hurt you. I don't give a fuck. I care about your audience. I want to convert your audience to my side because that's my agenda. And you have an agenda as well. You want people to agree with you because the more people agree with you, the more you can fucking make money off of them.
But I've saved the most terrifying and interesting part of this video for last. Are you ready? Are you ready? Here it is.
Now that I've finally settled in here in Australia,
He's here. In my neck of the woods. Fuck off, we're full, mate.
you can't get rid of me, Isaac. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere.